Hello again, my fellow weebs. This is part 2 of me talking about what I want from Endwalker. In the first video, I talked pretty much entirely about what I wanted from the MSQ, and in this video, I'm going to talk about pretty much everything else. So like the raids and like the side content and all of that stuff. But before I start playing that recording, I want to briefly touch on spoilers in this video. There are two particular sections in this video that I talk about spoilers. Now, I am going to have timestamps of everything, not just the spoilers, but just everything in the description, so make use of those timestamps. I'm going to label the sections that are spoilers very clearly using those timestamps, okay? So like in the 8-man raid section, I talked briefly about the Shadowbringer's raid story conclusion, and in the section about the ultimate raid, I talk about some actually major Heavensward MSQ spoilers, because the next ultimate is based off of the Heavensward MSQ. So those two sections, there are going to be some spoilers. Again, I'm going to have it all marked very clearly in the description with the timestamps. They should show up as chapters in the actual video itself when you like shake the mouse and you have the progress bar. So make use of them. Skip the sections that have spoilers. Again, it's specifically the section that is talking about the 8-man raid and the ultimate raid. Those two sections, which are near the beginning of this video, just be aware. Once I'm finished talking about all of the raid stuff and I start going on to some more of the casual content, I don't think there's any spoilers in any of that, so you should be safe from there. But yeah, just be careful. Anyway, that's enough from me. I'm going to pass it over to Past Trin. I hope you enjoy the video. Anyway, that's enough of the story. I actually talked way more about the story than I was expecting to talk. There was a few other things that I wanted to talk about, like the raids. And you know, as I mentioned, I enjoy raiding in this game, so I kind of want to talk a little bit about what I expect from the raids, and not just like the 8-man raids, but you know, the 8-man raids, the 24-man raids, and the the ultimate. Or ultimates. We'll see what they actually do. In terms of the 8-man raids, there's not really anything in particular that I'm hoping for. We know very little about it. We know it's called Pandemonium. We know from the artwork that it's somehow going to include, like, I think it's La Habrea. I think that's who it was. I don't know if we ever got official confirmation that was La Habrea, but I'm like 99% sure it was La Habrea, so that's what I'm gonna go with. I don't know if they're gonna bring him back to life, or if we're dealing with some like super weapon or some shit that he dealt with. I don't know. I don't really know what to expect from the story on that front. What I will say is that I hope that whatever it is tied in more heavily with the MSQ. That something that I really liked about the Eden raids is that the raid storyline was very, very relevant to the MSQ storyline, which it isn't always the case. In particular with Alexander and the Omega raids, don't get me wrong, those stories were good. I liked them, but they didn't feel as relevant to the main stories of those expansions as the other stuff. You know, they were important, and of course they always end the final moments of the expansion with some kind of teaser as to what the raid storyline is going to be. But you know, obviously with Eden, it was very relevant to the story that we had been experiencing in the MSQ with the MT and all of that kind of stuff. So I would like the raid storyline to be heavily like integrated with the story. I think it just makes it a lot more interesting as far as I'm concerned. I wasn't a huge fan of like the final, like the 5.4 storyline for the Eden storyline, with it just being Ascians again. That just it kind of knocked the wind out of my sails. I still liked it. It was fine, but it you know, wasn't really how I was hoping they would end it. But that's beside the point. As far as the 6.0 raid series goes, I hope it's integrated well with the story. And as far as the Savage is concerned, I'm kind of in a weird spot where I don't actually know if I like Savage raids anymore. Because after getting into the ultimate raids, to me, those are way more fun than the Savage raids. But I think a big part of that is that we did like all of Uwu and half of T after we did the 5.2 raid series and before we did the 5.4 raid series. Now, I'm not gonna go too much into what I thought about the Eden raid series because, you know, that's not relevant to the story to this video. But I personally, for me, 5.2 was like the best raid tier. And 5.4 I really didn't like very much at all. I didn't like the raids and I didn't like the story as much. It was fine, it was fun, but I just didn't like it as much as the 5.2 stuff. And I'm not sure if that's because I actually just didn't like it as much as the 5.2 stuff, or if it's because I played it after getting used to the pace of ultimate fights. So I don't actually know if I like Savage raids anymore. I'm gonna have to do a couple raid tiers in Endwalker to see, do I even actually enjoy Savage raiding anymore, or am I just gonna be done with Savage raiding and only do the ultimates whenever they come out? I don't know. We'll have to see. I hope that I can continue to enjoy the Savage raids though, because, you know, I wouldn't have to find a new static every single time I want to do an ultimate. That would be a pain in the ass, honestly. So we'll see. But like I said, I really liked the 5.2 raid tier. Shiva especially was incredibly fun. I really hope that they go more in the way of that kind of raid design rather than the. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like door bosses. I know people are kind of split on this. Personally, I don't like door bosses. I just think it's kind of boring. And I also I'm not a fan of the idea of like, we beat the boss and then the first thing, we beat the door boss and then we get into the phase 2 and the first thing we do is we all jump off the fucking ledge. I know that's a stupid complaint. Actually, something that I would like to see in Endwalker is a quality of life change. If you have a door boss, just reset it. Just have it start like as though we wiped and the door boss is not aggroed and we just get the cutscene and then we just reset to the starting area of the fight. Boom. Just do that rather than the door boss starting instantly, because 99% of raiders are basically just going to instantly walk off the ledge and it's dumb as shit. So that's something that I hope that they just embrace in Endwalker, and they're just like, all right, let's. You don't have to kill yourself to, you know, reset the boss and reset the markers and all of that. Reset your cooldowns and all of that stuff. We'll just do it for you. That would be nice, but still, I just prefer the Shiva kind of raid design because it's closer to an ultimate with, you know, the fact that it's this long fight, and if you die, you have to go back to the very beginning. It's very punishing. It's frustrating if you have a bad group, but you know what? That was my favorite fight. Now I don't know how much of that is because the music was godlike. If I'm being honest, the part 2 music in that fight was, oh my god! I wish I was recording my reaction to when I first heard it. It was, I ascended. I ascended to a different plane of existence. It was so good. Still, I really liked that raid tier. I'd like to see the raids be designed more along those lines, and less along the lines of what they did in 5.4. I don't know. I preferred the fights in 5.2. But other than that, I just want to have fun. And I'm sure it'll be another mixed bag. That's kind of how it usually goes with this kind of thing. I'll like some fights, I won't like other fights. We'll just have to wait and see where the die falls for that. Moving on to the 24-man raids. As far as the 24-man stuff is concerned, I don't really have any strong desires one way or another. What I will say though is I'm so happy. I am so happy that they are finally just doing something that isn't a crossover. Man, for me, the best stuff in the game is the stuff that's directly related to Eorzea and the world that the devs have built, rather than, you know, stuff that's basically just meant as references to other games that I haven't played. The Nier raids were the biggest offender of this. I did it. I only played Nier Automata, and I enjoyed it. And you know, the actual raids, the battle content itself in the Nier raids were really great. But I really did not enjoy the story that much. I thought it was just vague for most of it, and I mean, I guess the subplot of the dwarves was kind of interesting. It was fine, but I don't know, man. It just didn't really do anything for me. So again, I'm glad that this next raid tier, the next 24-man raid tier, is going to be specific to Final Fantasy XIV's world, and Eorzea specifically. You know, I think it's, people have guessed that it's related to the 12. Or I think I don't know if it was a guess. I think they outright told us that it's related to the 12 or something like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. I hope it's interesting. As far as the content itself, I hope it continues to be fun. Right? I think the Nier raids were a good, like, in terms of the battle content itself, they were really fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing whatever they continue to do. And yeah, I don't really have too much to say about the 24-man raids. But then the ultimates, the main event. As I mentioned, this is the battle content that I truly care about the most at this point. It is probably my favorite content in the game, other than the MSQ. We already know that the next ultimate is the Dragonsong War. I'm really looking forward to it. We were supposed to get it in 5.5. They had to delay it. We're getting it, I believe, in 6.1. I hope that it is as fun as T. My god, T, and my personal opinion, T is the best fight in the entire game. It is such a fun fight. It is such a good fight. And I really hope that they go more along the lines of T. I liked Uwu as well. I fucking hate Ukab. I hate that fight with a burning passion. It is the worst fight. Like, you'll see it eventually. I've been recording it. We're almost done farming it, finally, after far too fucking long. But my god, I truly hate that fight. I cannot wait to be done with it and never touch it again. I really hope that the Dragonsong War is not like Ukab, because like if we had started with Ukab instead of Uwu when we first started doing ultimate raids, I don't think I would have done any more ultimates beyond that. I'm actually glad that we saved Ukab for last, because it is by far the worst one as far as I'm concerned. I hated it, really hated it. It's so janky. Some of the mechanics are just stupid. First of all, they don't fucking work. And anyway, I'll save my salt for the playthrough when you eventually see it. Don't worry, that stuff is coming. It'll probably, like, the T playthrough and the Ukab playthrough probably gonna come like next year, honestly, because I have too much stuff that I have to work on right now. And then of course, you know, with Endwalker coming, I'm gonna have to make videos on that. But I know I want to start getting those videos out before the Dragonsong War stuff comes out, because I'd like to, again, record that and make content on that when it's coming out. So, anyway, you'll get more of my thoughts, my raw, unfiltered thoughts on Ukab when it's time for that. But as far as what I want from Dragonsong War, I hope it's designed more like T. I think that was just the best fight. The mechanics worked. It was fun, it was engaging, and one particular thing that I really want to see. I've mentioned this a couple times. I really want to see it. But look, one thing that I really want to see in the Dragonsong Ultimate fight, which, as we know, is going to be heavily based on the MSQ of Heavensward. I want to see a moment in the fight where we are fighting the Knights of the 12, or the Knights of the Round, whatever they were called, and then it's like a transition scene where one of the knights throws that light spear and Horshaphant himself shows up. The ghost of Horshaphant shows up to shield us. In order to successfully progress the mechanic, we have to let Horshaphant die again. We can save him, but kind of like what they did with Uwu with the Woken status, we have to purposely let Horshaphant die to give us some buff to actually succeed later on in the fight. I really want to see that. I want them to just twist the knife one last time, okay? I know that sounds evil. I know, I'm an asshole. I get it. I want to see it. I think the reaction from the community, if they did something like that, would be so fucking hilarious. I just really want to see them twist that knife one last time. Okay? That's the only thing that I truly want out of it, other than it not being shit like Ukab. Other than that, I'm pretty open to whatever they do with the fight itself, as long as it's fun and difficult, which I'm sure it will be. And of course, there's still, looking beyond the Dragon Song War, there's still the question of, are we going to get more than one ultimate in this expansion? We still don't know. So far, Dragon Song is the only one that's been confirmed. If they continue the pattern that they've done for the past couple ultimates, which, they love their pattern, so more than likely, the ultimate after Dragon Song War will be the Stormblood Raid series, will be based on the Stormblood Raid series, which means Omega Ultimate. I would like to see Omega Ultimate in the 6.0 series, the 6.x series, I guess. I would like to see it within this expansion life cycle. I'd like to get 2 ultimates this expansion, because I don't know. Again, they're my favorite fights in the game, and it's my favorite battle content in the game. They last so long because, I'm not in like a speedrun group or anything that's like gonna be no-lifing it in the first week. So that's content that quite literally lasts for months. That's a single fight that lasts for months. That is so valuable to me. I think it's just really fun. And trying to optimize that and get all of my every single millisecond of uptime that I can in those fights while doing some of those mechanics. It is some of the most fun that I've had playing this game. So I'd like to see 2 ultimates in this expansion. If they do that, I'd expect to see it sometime in 6.5. They'll probably go with what they wanted to do with this expansion. I think so long as there's not another global pandemic, they can probably pull it off. But we'll see what happens. Either way, I do hope that we get to see 2 ultimates this expansion. I think that would be really nice. But for now, I'm looking forward to Dragon Song Ultimate. I hope it'll be fun. As far as other content is concerned, though, besides the MSQ, besides the raids, there's a few things that I'd like to see. As far as features are concerned, I just want to mention, I know that they still haven't given any details on the Island Sanctuary thing. I don't give a single shit about this Island Sanctuary thing. I'll probably dabble in it when it comes out, but I really don't care about it at all. So I'm not really going to talk about it. One thing that I do want to see improved on in this expansion is the Glamour situation. I believe they mentioned in the last live letter that sometime around 6.1 they will be in a better place to start implementing some improvements to the Glamour dresser and stuff. And that's something that I really hope that they commit to. Obviously, more space in the Glamour dresser would be nice. Ideally, I'd like them to just do the Glamour catalog idea that many people have mentioned and that Yoshi P has mentioned, that is probably impossible for their spaghetti code situation. But a man can still dream. But if we're not going to get that, I'd like to see a little bit more quality of life in terms of the Glamour dresser. The one thing that I really want to see, I don't know if this is possible in terms of the coding side, but the one thing that I would really, really like to see is having presets for the Glamour dresser. And you might think, you might be wondering, like, what the hell does that actually mean? So you know how with the current Glamour dresser you have the Glamour plates, right? And right now we can only have 15 Glamour plates, and if you want to have a different outfit, you have to completely redo the Glamour plate. What I would like is within the dresser itself, I'd like to have presets that I can swap out with the plates. So let's say I have, you know, with all of my ultimate weapons and all of my relic weapons, I want to have a Glamour for each ultimate weapon and each relic weapon that I have, right? Because a lot of these are really cool weapons, and I want to be able to swap them around. Paladin especially, this is actually the job that has it the worst, because I think Paladin has some of the best weapons in the game. They all look so cool, and there's multiple Paladin like sword and shield combos that I want to use, but because of the limited amount of Glamour plates and the amount of jobs that we have, I can really only ever use one. And if I'm only going to use one, I'm just going to use the Ultima set, because I think it goes too well with the Passage of Arms skill. I think it fits the Paladin aesthetic the best. Right, but I wanna sometimes use the Excalibur Zeta set. You know, I also want to have a reason to go and get the Anima relic for the Paladin. But unless I dedicate multiple plates to just Paladin, I can't do that. But if they have presets saved on the Glamour dresser itself, I can have like 5 different Paladin presets, or five different samurai presets, or whatever. I can have multiple presets for each job, and then I can just swap out, when I'm at a Glamour dresser, swap one of those presets for the plate. Just drag it onto the plate, boom. And then the Glamour set that was saved on the plate goes into the presets, boom. Just like that. All I have to do is go to a dresser, swap stuff out in a couple minutes, and then I can go on in my merry way, rather than having to remake the Glamour every single time I want to change my Glamour. It's a minor change, but it would help. Like, for me, I don't know how much demand there is for something like this, but for me, it would make the entire Glamour game so much more enjoyable. Because as we all know, Glamour is the one true endgame of all MMOs. And I think in particular, Final Fantasy XIV has, in my opinion, some of the best Glamour in any MMO. You know, at least as far as I'm concerned, like I think a lot of the armor designs in this game and weapon designs really fit my aesthetic. It's a good mix between fantasy and like grounded reality kind of stuff. So I really like that. And there's a lot of different Glamours that I'd like to be able to use, but I don't have enough plates for them. And I think they've mentioned that the plates issue is a matter of data going around on our character at all times. But maybe they can get around that by making presets just on the on the Glamour dress itself. Maybe not though. Again, I know they've mentioned that data is a very sensitive issue, basically, with their engine. So maybe this isn't possible, and you just gotta deal with this scuffed shit for forever. But I would like to see it, because I'm kind of looking for a reason to actually be able to go and get some of these other Glamours, these other gear pieces, these other weapons and stuff. But obviously, if I'm only ever, especially now that I'm doing these ultimates and I'm unlocking these weapons that, as far as I'm concerned, are just, way more meaningful than like the average weapon, because they signify the several month-long struggle of trying to clear that fucking content. It kind of makes getting relic weapons kind of pointless. Because I'm never going to use it, since I'm just going to be using the ultimate weapons for the most part. And the same thing with the raid weapons. It's like I'm just going to be using the shiny weapons for the most part. So I would just like to see that little quality of life change. I think it would really help with the replayability of a lot of old content, because it'll actually give me a reason to go after some of these you know, extra weapons, rather than just having it in my saddlebag or something, just sitting there for the sake of sitting there. You know, I want to actually use some of them without having to go through the monotony of changing out the plate every fucking week or some shit. Another thing that I'd like to see in this expansion is actually another deep dungeon. I've recently started dabbling into some of the deep dungeon stuff for the solo achievements. I think that it's a nice change of pace from the usual thing that I kind of do. And it's actually a lot of fun. And we haven't gotten a new deep dungeon since Heaven on High, which, I mean, I prefer Heaven on High over Palace, because it's way less tedious since I actually start with most of my kit, unlike Palace where I started level 1. And of course, it's way less floors, which means that, you know, most of those floors in Palace especially are just so brain dead easy. It's just boring. So again, I would like to see another deep dungeon in Endwalker. We haven't gotten any news about that, so I don't know if we should really expect it, but it would be nice to see. And something that I would like to see if they actually do bring in more deep dungeon stuff is the bosses at the end of the floor sets. I want them to be designed more like the Bozja duels and the Zadnor duels, because those boss fights actually felt like boss fights. I didn't actually end up doing the I got all of the Bozja duels, but I didn't bother doing all of the Zadnor duels because I got tired of the lottery system trying to get in. It was just really tedious. I just stopped giving a shit. But the fights themselves are really fun. They are really, really fun, and I would really like to see that in a form that doesn't involve me going in and grinding for like 2 or 3 hours for a chance at getting in for like 5 to 10 minutes of fun. I think that would really help if they just made the bosses in whatever deep dungeon they did a lot more interesting. You know, I don't think a deep dungeon necessarily needs to have, you know, 100 floors or 200 floors of even if they wanted to be an achievement, like a solo achievement that's actually worth achieving. I don't think it necessarily needs to be, you know, a bunch of floors to make it an achievement. I think they can actually just make it a little bit more difficult and, you know, give us maybe like 30 floors or 50 floors instead of 100. I think 50 would be good. You know, assuming that all 5 sets were actually difficult from the beginning, right? Like, obviously, if they make it so that, you know, the first 50% of the floors are just easy as shit, then that's not worth it. I wanna get to the fun stuff a little bit faster without the grinding shit. So I don't know. I think that would be nice. I'm not really gonna hold my breath because, again, we haven't heard anything about this, so there's no reason to currently believe that we're gonna get another deep dungeon. But I think it would be nice. And then other than that, the only other thing that I can really think of to talk about in terms of Endwalker content is related to whatever field content that we get. You know, I think it's safe to say that they like to do one piece of field content each expansion. First there was, I think, Diadem. I never actually did Diadem, now that I think about it. Then there was Eureka. I wasn't a huge fan of that. And then there was Bozja. I did actually like Bozja. So I am assuming, again, we haven't heard anything about it, but I'm assuming that more than likely Endwalker is going to have some kind of field content. All I hope is that it is fun. I hope that it's designed more like Bozja, where you can actually just go into it solo and occasionally group up with other people and have fun in a not tedious way. I'm not a fan of the old school boomer design of sitting in town shouting for a group for 20 minutes. That's not my idea of a good time, and it was the #1 reason why I didn't bother with Eureka when it was relevant. So yeah, more than likely the Relic will also be tied to the the field content. They seem to like that pattern. I think that's fine, as long as they give, you know, a path to getting the relic outside of the content. What I will say is that if they go that path again, where they tie the relic to the field content, it would be nice if the field content path is as fast as the non-field content path. Because, like, in Endwalker, in Shadowbringers, it was actually faster to just go mindlessly grind fates in, like, the Heavensward areas than it was to go into Bozja and actually do the new content to get your relics, which I think is backwards. I feel like, if anything, I don't necessarily think that it should be faster than the opposite way, but I think they should be comparable. At the very least, I think they should be comparable so that people can just do whatever way they want, right? I don't think people should be punished for not wanting to do the you know, the field content if they don't want to. And I would also appreciate it if I don't feel like I'm wasting my time doing the field content instead of mindlessly grinding the same content that I've been doing for the last 5 years or whatever, you know? Just a little tuning thing that I hope they get a little bit better going into Endwalker with whatever they do with this. And of course, like I said, there's no confirmation that they're going to do field content again, or that the field content is going to be tied to the relic. I'm kind of just assuming here, based on the pattern that they've seemed to show over the past couple expansions. But if they go that path, I hope that they, you know, maybe just kind of tune it just a little bit better so that I don't feel like I'm wasting my time in the content specifically crafted for the relics. Okay, that would be nice. I also hope that they don't do another, like, raffle thing, like the lottery thing to get into any kind of challenge content, like the duels. That was my least favorite thing. Like, the duels themselves was such a cool idea, and they were so much fun to play. But oh god, the lottery was just fucking infuriating. I mean, they did eventually add the notoriety system, which made it a little bit better. But I got the Sword of the South title before they added the notoriety, which meant that I had to farm, specifically Vigil for the Lost. My fucking god, the amount of times I had to do that first zone fate in Bozja against that stupid spider robot thing to try and get into the Gabriel duel. The amount of times I qualified for that duel and didn't get it. Oh my god, I wanted to I wanted to rip my hair out. I literally wanted to rip my hair out. It was so frustrating. And the worst part is, it took me like maybe 50 attempts minimum to actually to like get enough attempts to clear the fight, but it actually only took me 2 actual attempts to actually clear the Gabriel fight. It was just, my god, holy shit, it was so frustrating. Especially since, you know, those fates, they don't come up very often. Oh god, oh man, please don't do that again. please just don't do that again. I'm begging you, please. If you're gonna do challenging solo content, which I like, by the way, I do think there's a place for that in this game, and I love that. I want to do that kind of stuff. But if you're gonna do it, just make it a system where I can just queue up for it separately, you know, and just go into it and actually bash my head against the wall, right? That's what I want to do. I don't want to do all this dumb, frustrating monotony lottery shit. Okay. So yeah. Anyway, I think that basically covers just about everything that I wanted to talk about for the expansion. I think it's pretty obvious at this point, but I'm really looking forward to this expansion. I have high hopes for it. I do have faith that it'll be fun, like a lot of fun. I think my December is going to be basically filled with just about nothing but Final Fantasy. The job changes look really fun, for the most part. The story sounds like it's going to be amazing. I have very high hopes for that. And overall, I think the future of this game is very bright. I want to say too, that it's been really cool seeing so many new faces coming into this game. I also think it's really funny because, like, for years people have been talking about, oh my god, there's no new MMOs, there's no good MMOs, MMO genres, they're all this bitching and moaning and shit. And then suddenly it's like people start actually playing Final Fantasy XIV and realizing what people have been saying for years. And it's like, what? Suddenly it's a resurgence of the MMO genre. People are way more interested in MMOs, and it's like, dude, what the like, how did you just never play this game at all? Did you just listen to people saying that it's just weeb shit all this time and you just never looked at it? I don't get it. I don't get it. But either way, I think it's overall a positive thing that the game is getting a lot more attention. And I hope that the game has a bright future. I'm glad that this isn't... Obviously, this is the end of this 10-year story, but it's not the end of the game. And in fact, I think some of the recent interviews and the live letter or somewhere, Yoshi P was mentioning... Like he was talking about the next 10 years of Final Fantasy XIV, which means that there's a good chance that this game is going to continue for another... like 10 or so years or something. Like it's not even like ending soon. We're gonna be playing this for a long time, and I just think that's really nice. I don't know how long I'll like continue to play it as my main game. Obviously, as time goes on, I'll more than likely play the game less, and I already started playing it a lot less in Shadowbringers. Like the breaks that I took from the game were a lot longer because I've just done so much of the stuff that I actually care about, especially with me you know, getting through a lot of these ultimate fights. There's very few things at this point that I particularly care about in the game. You know, I could do like what, fishing stuff or grind out some of the relics, but you know, that's stuff that I can do, just kind of do on the side super casually, and not something that I'm particularly interested in dedicating, you know, my time to. I'd rather just go and, you know, play some other games and stuff. So I don't know how long Final Fantasy XIV will continue to command my entire my attention like this. But when they do these massive expansions, and you know they continue to update the game with content that I actually give a shit about, with, you know, the ultimates or whatever the case may be, it's always nice to come back and play the game. And lately I've not been playing too much because I've done a lot of the stuff that I actually care about. I only log in for raid for the most part, and occasionally I'll log in for some other stuff. Maybe do some roulettes or whatever if I'm really feeling to play Final Fantasy XIV. So I'm so glad that we're finally gonna have just a shit ton of new content to do in a month. That's it's gonna be like returning home. It really is. I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, I was expecting this video to be like 10 to 20 minute video. So clearly that didn't fucking happen. If you actually sat through all of this video, then I commend you. I thank you. I appreciate that. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to with Endwalker. If there's anything that I forgot that I should be looking forward to. And yeah, maybe we'll see each other in Eorzea.